libraries really are one of the greatest gifts the American people have ever given themselves.
I love to read. It's educational.
We learn so much from reading.
And as Mr. Jefferson said, the strength of the nation will depend on our ability to educate the common man.
Benjamin Franklin had a very radical idea, the free public library, books available to everyone.
For the libraries, they are where they store the intellect, the knowledge.
There's computers in it where you can type and for information.
The technology, of course, is the gateway to the information.
There are very few institutions around that present non-threatening opportunities for learning.
Libraries are the university of the people.
If we want to let our national spirit soar, we must cultivate ideas and knowledge.
July 1991. At the request of President Bush, a summit of citizens is called in the nation's capital to help shape the national agenda on library and information policy.
I declare you duly sworn in.
This is the second White House conference on library and information services, with representatives from every state, 7 U.S. territories, Native American tribes, the federal library community, and international observers. Ultimately, the work of these 700 delegates will result in recommendations to enhance literacy, increase productivity, and strengthen democracy, essential goals as we approach the 21st century. This White House conference acknowledges the important role of library and information services in building a stronger America.
You simply couldn't be a more representative group of Americans from a broader range of our communities. People from the real world who can share the whole spectrum of views and perspectives on our nation's information needs.
State-level pre-conferences across the nation began in 1990. Literally thousands of Americans participated in this process.
That is really why we are here today, to ensure that we are providing the best, the very best possible access to information and therefore knowledge in our society.
It is my great pleasure and honor to introduce to you Mrs. Marilyn Quayle.
White House conference delegates had the benefit of many perspectives, the voices of experience and enthusiasm for the future.
Perhaps the greatest challenge before us is how to pursue technological advance without surrendering our basic humanity. This week is an opportunity for Washington policymakers to listen to and learn from professionals in the field.
It's largely because of the central role of libraries in the lives of American citizens that this second conference has received such a ringing endorsement from members of Congress.
We're hoping that this conference will provide a much-needed and clearer definition of the important roles of libraries in education and a critical role of information services in our nation's future.
All of the works that all of the states have done leading up to this have been very beneficial, and it's galvanized, I think, a lot of people.
We are part of the legacy of building this document to hand to the president, but they are the people who will implement it. And they can only do it in grassroots, clear down to a township level.
There isn't anything as effective as the White House conference. You get an opportunity where you have all of these people who've come together, as in this White House conference. You get inspiration and the development of leadership and a vision.
You preserve democracy's greatest resource, the ideas that have helped reshape an entire world.
Undoubtedly, one idea that's reshaped the world is instant access to information. Understanding and using the computer is essential for any discussion of the 21st century library. The White House Conference Resource Room was a state-of-the-art work area organized by the Library of Congress.
Library of Congress is already online with 2/3 of the state libraries of the country with our full bibliographic record. We're rapidly approaching a world in which information will be shared instantaneously and be sort of constantly revised online. But I don't think a world in which knowledge is going to be able to escape the confines of the book.
All the information is there for everyone, free to use. Also, it's the repository of our cultures, of all kinds of cultures, and we need to preserve it.
We think libraries in the Soviet Union are of equal importance in our country. We have more than 320,000 libraries in the Soviet Union.
Just recently, our library was automated with the computers, and I can go in there and I can type in a subject, a book title, or an author's name, and I'll get the books, every book on that subject, and where it is.
Through historical novels, I deal with the past, and the place you find that is at your library. I'm John Jakes from Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. I'm a general public delegate to the library conference, trying to find ways to expand library services in the next decade.
Delegates worked in 10 topic groups and thoroughly addressed such issues as library services, technology, national information policies, access to information, networking, and others.
I chose governance because I feel that the policy at the national level have to be changed, and governance is where it starts. We must tell Congress what it needs to do.
The quest for the future begins with literacy. To open a book is to open the doors of opportunity. Illiteracy bars those doors, and it wastes our most precious resource, our minds.
23 million Americans are functionally illiterate. That means they can't read their child's report card. About 4 million adult Americans cannot read their name in block print. What you need here in Washington is a message from some of us that there will be an enhanced federal support level. There will be more federal resources.
Senator Simon's colleagues on Capitol Hill share his concern. At a joint congressional hearing, conference delegates spoke directly to lawmakers.
I learned how to read 5 years ago. I was never able to use the library.
The turning point for me was my son. He wanted me to read bedtime stories, and I wasn't able to do that. I would push him away in an angry way, and it tore me apart.
There's thousands of people in our country who can't read, who can't write, who can't even read a bedtime story to their kids. I know the United States is a place for dreams to come true. I had a dream come true.
My story is no different than Ramirez's story.
4 years ago, I was unable to read. There are a lot of people like me out there who don't know that the libraries have a place for you to go to learn how to be tutored to read.
I did something that I was never able to do 2.5 years ago. I really became a true American citizen. I was able to vote.
Access to written words, literacy, was only one of the access to information issues presented by library advocates.
Without open and equitable access to information, America's right to know is at risk. Librarians keep information affordable, available, and accessible to all people. Only one who lives on a reservation 170 miles from a library could truly tell you what it's like to never have access to a library.
I ask that you make libraries and information services the keystone of democracy and productivity accessible to all Americans. Thank you.
Equal access, and that not only means physical barriers such as architectural barriers, but all types of barriers for people with mobility impairments, visual impairments, hearing impairments, learning disabled.
My interest is for dyslexics. I'm a dyslexic, and
I hope that libraries of the future will be more focused toward other ways of getting information, such as audio and visual equipment, and maybe even things that we haven't heard about.
It's a recommendation for the handicap. We had typed up in Braille so they can read.
Full conference participation by youth delegates assured that tomorrow's leaders are heard today.
If one child cannot read in our country, it destroys our whole country.
Youngsters understand the technology upon which our future rests, and we've got to rush to catch up with them. Technology can make us more productive as a society, and information technology arms us with unprecedented power.
Clearly, technological advances can open up the entire world of information to everyone. Online computers, telecommunications processes, computerized databases, CD-ROM technology. These systems are here now, but far too few people have the know-how to use them.
I wasn't even aware that they had the technology that you could reach out and touch a television screen and operate a program. And I didn't even know what a mouse was. And those tools are going to take people thousands and thousands of miles. The more information you have, the more productive you are.
We now live in a world united by information highways and joined in productive competition.
Libraries are critical to America's productivity. Businesses and economic growth depend on access to information.
The people who manage the distillation and the distribution of information in this country play an absolutely critical role in helping American businesses reach a higher quality of productivity and to compete on a global plane.
America's ability to compete in the world marketplace begins with a strong position in the marketplace of ideas. Libraries and information services are key.
All discussions of the future of education in America are deficient, defective, and distorted if they do not include a significant role for libraries.
The most efficient way to get knowledge ought to be interacting with the librarian.
You and I must find better ways to prepare the citizens of this country, especially our students, to be able to compete in a global job market, whether the jobs are here in the United States or abroad.
If we were fools at one time, perhaps we won't be fools tomorrow. If we study, if we learn.
Achieving educational excellence for all is one of President Bush's goals. His America 2000 plan calls for a restructured and revitalized educational system. Secretary of Education Lamar Alexander urged the conference to pick up on the president's charge.
We will have to be doing things differently in America, especially in education and in our thinking about education if we're going to get where we want to go as a nation by the year 2000.
We're talking about really a revolution in American schools. It sets out to transform a nation at risk into a nation of students, and it urges everyone to make our communities places where learning will happen. Libraries and information services stand at the center of this revolution.
The recommendations flowing from the 3 subgroups dealing with governance.
Paring down the 1,100 grassroots resolutions was a major challenge. Delegates proved up to the task, establishing a manageable number of resolutions only after long hours in committee debate.
In our smaller sessions, we really hashed it out during that section, and that was just, I thought pretty exciting because no one hesitated to speak there, no one was intimidated.
Some of the heat of this conference, some of the really interesting discussions have revealed controversies about fee-based services, controversies about the future of libraries and technology, whether libraries will disappear, how to support libraries in ages in which public funding really is inadequate.
Information is democracy's greatest and surest weapon, and our world's greatest and surest hope.
Is this a petition?
We gathered have committed to provide literacy for all as a right of access to the global mind. We gathered are committed to assure democracy through an informed citizenry.
Being literate helps the democracy because you're enabling yourself to also hear it from another person's point of view and then read it from your own.
Our system of libraries is a national treasure. It's something that's really unique in the world, and it's a system we're letting erode.
If we don't have educated folks, if we don't correct the illiteracy problems, we're going to lose more and more of this country and our efforts toward democracy.
Delegates never shunned their important mission. Intense last-minute discussion and debate continued right up to the final votes.
These people came from their local communities up through a state process and then into a national process. That takes time. It's a process of education.
What I'd like to see is that as much attention be given to the results of this conference as possible so that more Americans will understand why libraries are so important to us and why it's essential for us to put more dollars in libraries and information services that will be available to all the citizens.
Next, we'll move to a point of order at microphone 5.
There are times you get very frustrated and think, oh, why is this taking so long? Why can't we move it along? But, you know, it really is a very important process, and you have to go through that. That is democracy.
I would certainly object to this replacing those.
I'm sorry, time has expired.
Democracy means everybody, and literacy means everybody.
Point of order.
The final voting session lasted nearly 9 hours, resulting in a list of recommendations which addressed critical issues.
Those in favor of the amendment signify by the sign aye. Aye. Those opposed by the sign nay. Okay,
And so I look forward to receiving your policy recommendations, and I'm committed to working with you to improve our libraries and information networks and to carry America 2000 forward.
In November 1991, President Bush received the conference final report and then presented it to members of Congress. Next, both federal and state legislators will consider conference-based proposals, including youth literacy programs, the creation of a nationwide information network, increased support for library programs, the adoption of a national preservation policy, multicultural, multilingual library programs, guaranteed access to public information, all as a result of the White House conference.
It's just incredible, the whole experience. It's just, we get everything we set out to do.
Absolutely. Had a few doubts along the way, but it turned out very, very well.
It was well worth the trouble, it was well worth the wait, it was well worth the sleepless nights.
A lot of people don't realize how much the libraries do, and I think that this gives some publicity and it gives people an opportunity to think in terms of the future and define the type of goals that they want to work towards.